Well, here we are. It's Sunday. It's a beautiful day outside. Studying ecology, so I figured I'd come out into an ecosystem or community or, whatever you want to categorize it as. But anyway, I just thought I'd be outside. It's ecology, so outside. So anyway, ecology tests, as I said a lot of times in class, this is it's a really large unit, so there's a lot of stuff to cover. But a lot of it you have heard before. So here we go. First, right off the bat, there's two questions out of the first three that talk about the symbiotic relationships. So things like commensalism, mutualism, parasitism. Basically, it gives you a scenario, and you have to say, what type of relationship that is. There are several, like food chains and food web type questions, where you have to kind of say which organism would be acting as the producer, or which organism would be acting as the secondary consumer and things like that. Basically labeling. Okay. Remember biomass? That word. Remember that's the amount of living matter, the amount of living material. So as there, is larger within an ecosystem with producers, and as you go up trophic levels, the biomass would get less and less. Don't forget, heat is lost as you go up the food chain. So energy is kind of released as heat. There's a 10% rule question. Okay, so you've got to make sure that you remember as you go up the trophic level. Remember, there's only 10% of the energy that was available before. So if you start with 100, grams of energy or kilocalories of energy at the producer level, the next level is only going to have 10, and then the next level 1, and then 0.1, and so on and so on. So there's a couple questions about that where you have to do that 10% math. Don't forget pesticides. Remember that idea of biomagnification? I went over that, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. We just kind of had a little talk in class about it. So don't forget that increases as you go up trophic levels. Okay. More food webs. Food webs. More food webs. This one is actually kind of like the food web we did, kind of what would happen if you got rid of one of the organisms. So, what would happen to the ecosystem, what would happen to the things that are eating it, basically. Okay. Remember, energy is lost as heat. It's transferred. Another question about that. Ecological succession. Remember what types of things are going to come in first. It's going to be your pioneer species. So lichens, then probably some grasses, then some maybe small bushes or shrubs, and then trees would come in later. So in a primary succession event, lichens would be kind of the first thing. That's a good example of a pioneer species. A couple more succession questions. Then we get into some questions about kind of environments being disrupted. So if you remember, that's kind of what we did the little raft about, and you all studied different environmental impacts and how the change can affect the environment. So basically it gives you a short little paragraph to read, and you just have to interpret how that would affect the environment. A lot of these questions, if you're careful, read careful, the answer is kind of in the reading. Another food web. Population, kind of like the lab we did. You have to read a graph about population size. Okay. John is a Texas rancher who has a stable population of white-tailed deer on his 1,200-acre ranch. He decides that he would like to introduce 100 exotic axis deer onto the ranch because both species are herbivores. What might be an expected outcome? So what's going to happen? The predator population would decrease. The new species of axis deer would die off. The size of the producer population would decrease, or the white-tailed deer population would increase. Now, if you're introducing more herbivores, then that means producers are going to go down. Hello, Spence. What do you need? Another population graph there. Okay. So you guys just read population graph. Please don't lick me. Thank you. Let's see. Only about 10 questions left. This one is all about a description of 3 different organisms, and you have to say, 3 different relationships between organisms. You have to say whether it's mutualism, parasitism, or commensalism, and kind of categorize those. Okay. A few about the cycle. There's one question: cycle would be affected to the greatest extent by the destruction of rainforests. If there's no more trees, the cycle is going to be affected. Carbon cycle. Good job. A little bit about nitrogen fixation. Remember, bacteria help to fix nitrogen for the plants. Lightning can do that as well. Something about the clear cutting a vast area and how that would affect the carbon cycle. And then the last 3 questions are just all about ecological disruption again. So again, just kind of have to read and interpret what you're reading. So that is about it from the back area of Strauch Casa, sitting out by the old fire pit. Hope y'all have a great rest of your Sunday, and we will see you tomorrow. Be ready for the test. Good luck.